If you're thinking about selling your home on the main line, one of the most important decisions you'll make happens before your home even hits the market. And that decision is this: should you sell your home on the private market first, or should you go straight to the MLS, which is the public market? Because once your home goes live publicly, a timer starts. Buyers can see exactly how long the home has been sitting on the market, and every extra day can slowly weaken your negotiating power and ultimately your property's price. In this video, we're going to break down what it means to sell on the private market, how days on market impacts your sale price, and why some listings get stuck in price reduction cycles, which is a seller's worst nightmare, why many mainline sellers are now starting with a private market launch at their aspirational price. We'll also talk about when it actually makes sense to launch directly on the MLS. And if you're thinking about selling and want help deciding the best strategy for your property, this video is definitely the one for you. I'm Peter Stefanatos, a real estate agent with Compass on the main line. I'm actually recording in the Wayne office right now. Let's get into our first topic: the problem with going straight to the MLS. Most homeowners assume the first step to selling their home is putting it on Zillow, Realtor.com, Redfin, and the MLS. And while the MLS absolutely provides the largest buyer exposure, it also creates something sellers need to understand: a public clock. The moment your home is listed, buyers can see how long it has been on the market and whether the home has had price reductions. On the main line, where buyers are often very educated about the market, days on market becomes one of the first things buyers will look at. A listing that sells quickly signals strong demand, but a listing that sits starts to raise questions. Buyers begin thinking, oh, the home's probably overpriced. Something's probably wrong with the property. It has over 200 days on market. We're going to pass on that. And when nothing is wrong with the home, perception alone will reduce demand, and reduced demand reduces your sales price. Now, how homes get stuck in price reduction cycles. One of the most common mistakes sellers make is listing too high on the MLS without testing the market first. Here's what typically happens. A seller believes their home may be worth more than the most recent comparable sales, so they list it slightly higher. At first, showings happen, but buyers who understand the mainline market quickly realize when a home is priced above market value and it's not worth it. So instead of making offers, they wait. After about 3 or 4 weeks, activity slows down, showings decline, and eventually the seller makes a price reduction. But here's where things get difficult. Once a home has a price cut, buyers begin expecting more. If the home gets into multiple price reductions, the listing can start to feel weakened in the eyes of buyers. They start to think, is there problems with the property? Oh, they might have had an inspection, something came up. I don't want to get into that mess. They start to think that there are some issues here. And many times the final sale price ends up lower than if a home had simply been priced correctly from the start. And sometimes it's not even pricing, it's strategy, where maybe if you had staged your home, you would have sold at a better price. Maybe you brightened up the home a little bit. These are all things that you find out on the private market through feedback without being publicly listed. But we'll get into more info on that into this next section here. So why the private market even exists. So this is exactly why the private market strategy actually exists. Instead of immediately listing publicly, your home can first be introduced on the private market. This means listing your home as a private exclusive at Compass. Your home will then be shared privately with other brokers, agents, and their qualified buyers. But here's the key difference. There is no public days on market counter, okay? So your home can receive showings, buyer reactions, agent feedback, pricing insights, and even offers, all from a section of the market without starting the public clock. I actually came from a private listing showing today where I saw a property popped up in Devon for around 3 million, 9,000 square feet. And I have buyers looking in the area, and we went to see the property today. This is privately listed. It's been on the private market for just 2 days now, and they've already had 5 showings. They are already expecting an offer at the seller's aspirational private market price, and it will likely sell privately. Many sellers are taking full advantage of it. Let's continue here. So testing your aspirational price. One of the biggest advantages of starting on the private market is the ability to test an aspirational price with no consequences. Many mainline homeowners believe their home may be worth more than recent comparable sales, and sometimes they're absolutely right. But if you test that price publicly and buyers reject it, the listing immediately begins accumulating days on market, throwing away the peak exposure period where a bidding war could have started. because that first 2 weeks you list your home, first 2 weeks it hits the public market, that is your highest chance of a bidding war starting and you getting the highest possible price for your property. You throw away those 2 weeks, you're going to throw away the highest price that your home can get. But on the private market, something different happens. You can introduce the property quietly and gather real feedback from experienced agents. They're serious buyers, market professionals, without a single consequence. You can learn things like whether the pricing feels aggressive, whether the home should be staged, maybe we should paint neutral colors. Yeah, the patio needs a power washing. 3 buyers complained about that. What other brokers think? Again, you have no obligation to sell. If the right buyer appears at that aspirational price and presents an offer, fantastic. If not, you've learned something extremely valuable without damaging the listing publicly. Now, why this protects your final sale price? The goal of the private market strategy is simple. Avoid entering the MLS with the wrong price, repairs, updates, or timing. All things you learn from the private market. Because when a home launches publicly with the right pricing strategy, it has the best chance of creating strong early interest, more showings, and potentially multiple offers. Instead of chasing the market downward with price reductions, you're entering the market already informed with the odds of the best result in your favor. Think of it as doing market research before the official launch. That's what helps protect your final sale price. When the MLS is still the right move. Now, to be clear, the MLS is still extremely powerful. In fact, any homes on the main line ultimately sell through the MLS because it creates the largest exposure to buyers. The MLS can create strong showing activity, broad buyer awareness, and potential bidding situations. But the difference is how you enter the MLS. Launching after testing the private market often creates a stronger, more strategic launch than simply guessing on day one. The strategy mainline sellers are using today. For many sellers today, the strongest strategy is a 2-step launch. And this is what me and my clients always deploy. You start on the private market, you can test your aspirational price, gather real feedback, and then we make adjustments based on feedback and launch public on the MLS if we need to. Once the pricing, staging, timing, and marketing strategy is refined through the private market launch, the home can go live publicly with a much stronger position. This approach is what we recommend on the main line. One of our last sales we sold in under a week on the private market above our seller's aspirational price. No sign in the yard, no open houses. I will have some of my recent sales actually on screen where I represented either buyer or seller. And many of these properties that you're seeing were first listed on the private market or they first appeared on the private market. So to wrap up, should you sell your mainline home on the private market or on the MLS? In most cases, the smartest answer is both, but again, the right order. Start on the private market, then if needed, launch on the public market when we've refined the strategy to get you maximum exposure. If you're thinking about selling and want help figuring out which approach makes the most sense for you, contact us. I'll have my email and also phone number on screen, or you can click the link below. Let us know your situation and we'll reach out to you. And if you found this video helpful, make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're interested in the Philadelphia mainline real estate market. As I'm a resident here, I live in Villanova, went to Ithan Elementary School, Radnor Middle, and Radnor High School. I love the area and I make videos on it frequently. Thank you guys. Again, it's been Stefanatos with Compass Mainline. Take it easy, guys. Peace.